Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com, and this is another episode of Ask the Lawyers. Making sure you get all the disability benefits that you're entitled to can be difficult, can be frustrating, and then when you are a military veteran, it can bring its own set of challenges. And so today our guest is attorney Marc Whitehead of Marc Whitehead and Associates in Houston, Texas. Marc specializes in long-term disability insurance cases, and he's going to help sort it all out for us today. Marc, thank you for joining us. I appreciate your time today.
All right, good morning.
So when a veteran seeks disability benefits, when can they seek them? I guess is the first question. Does it have to be combat related? Walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So the system for veterans disability, it's basically known as veterans compensation in the VA world, and the system is designed to compensate veterans who may have a service-connected disability based on an incident or an occurrence or maybe even an illness that originally initiated while they were in active military service. Does not have to be combat related at all. Matter of fact, the example that I frequently give to folks is, a client of mine was in the Air Force and was working on a plane at a military base in San Antonio and basically fell off of the top of the wing of the plane and broke his back. Of course, they patched him up. He was young, and then 30 years down the road, he developed back problems. He would be like a classic example of a typical veteran's disability. But yes, anytime a veteran has a disabling condition that affects them physically at whatever stage of life they happen to be in, they can file a claim for veterans compensation under the disability program.
So that's explain to us what VA compensation is and how veterans apply for that.
Sure. So the veterans compensation or the VA compensation system is designed to compensate veterans for in-service or service-connected disabling conditions. The conditions don't necessarily have to prevent the veteran from working, okay, although in many instances they might, or at least limit the veteran's ability to work at more physical or strenuous jobs. And the whole idea behind the veterans compensation system is to make that veteran financially whole again, depending on the severity of the disability that the veteran may be experiencing at the time.
So the application process, simple, easy, quick online application, right?
Well, it depends. A couple of points there. So to actually begin the process, the application process, so the claimant needs to file a form called a VA Form 21-526, which can be done online, or it can be done at the local VA regional office. One quick point there is do not do both. Do not file an application at the regional office and go and file one online as well. That will put a screeching halt onto the process and can delay a veteran by months. So you need to pick your methodology. Either do it online or do it at the regional office. Don't make the mistake of filing both at the same time, because that will just kick the application out, and I've seen that happen numerous times. But that's basically the process for initiating the claim, and it can take some time to ultimately get a decision, and it's more complicated than we have the time to explain now. But
is there a burden of proof? Is there something they need to prove in that initial claim?
Yes. So ultimately what you're trying to prove is you're trying to prove that your current disabling condition, in other words, what you're suffering from right now, is connected to an in-service event. The short term we use is you have to prove service connection.
Okay.
So that's the basic issue of what you're trying to prove. And frequently what happens is the veterans have been out of service for many years, sometimes decades. And so that is frequently the problem, is that you have this huge gap in time and you're trying to relate a current disabling condition to something that may have happened 10, 20, 30 years ago.
And then what are the next steps once you make that initial application?
Yes. So I'm going to work on the assumption that that the initial application has been denied, because that's frequently what happens. And if that application is denied, then you have to file what's called a notice of disagreement. Now, that's currently the process. I will say now that, just to complicate matters, the VA is totally restructuring their appellate procedure on denied applications. So what we call it today is probably not what they're going to call it next year. So currently it's called a notice of disagreement. They are developing a new system called the RAMP system, which will totally change the process, but that is still probably a little bit of ways off. And that sort of hinders us when we kind of try to talk to veterans about what the process is, because everything we tell you today is going to be different in about 6 months. But currently that's the process.
Now, when you and I have talked in the past about, a long-term disability as far as people who are not veterans, you've said that the time that you really probably need to get an attorney involved is with that appeal process. When after the denial, is it the same thing for when the VA denies the first application?
Yes. The VA is a little different from the other types of veterans, or the other types of disability claims. The VA has never been very friendly to the ideal of having private attorneys in their system. And for years, it was actually against the law for an attorney to charge a veteran more than $10 to represent him before the VA, designed specifically to keep attorneys out of the system. Now that changed in 2007. So now attorneys still aren't really allowed to get involved during the initial application and through that first denial phase. Okay. But once a denial is actually issued, then you now can, under the new rules, bring a private attorney in to help you, but only after that first denial. And again, that is sort of something very unique to the VA system.
Now, is it a requirement that the attorney be accredited with the VA system, or is that just something you want to have?
No, it's an absolute requirement. As a matter of fact, an attorney who represented a veteran without being accredited by the VA would be in violation of the law if they did so. So yes, your attorney has to be accredited by the VA in order to represent a veteran before the Veterans Administration.
Can a veteran seek veterans benefits and Social Security benefits, or are those separate?
No, you can absolutely seek both. The Social Security disability system is based off of the FICA taxes that you paid in as a private citizen over the years, and then your veterans disability, your veterans compensation claim is based on your service as an active military veteran. So they're two separate systems. One does not rely on the other. They really don't mix at all. And so, yes, a veteran could absolutely receive Social Security disability benefits and veterans compensation at the same time.
What about family members of a veteran that may have passed on? Are they able to seek benefits?
Under many circumstances, yes. It's not an absolute rule. It depends on a few variables, but generally speaking, dependents and spouses have some opportunity to seek VA benefits under certain circumstances. It's probably a little more complicated than what we can go into right now. In my book, I do have a detailed description of who does qualify and who does not qualify. And I would probably recommend that, plus consultation with an attorney experienced in that to resolve that particular question.
So tell us about the book. What is the book? What's it called, and how can they get it?
So the book is Veteran Disability Strategies for a Winning Campaign. It is a book that we wrote for the use and benefit of veterans and their families. It's free. It is a free download on our website, which is www.disabilitydenials.com. That's disability denials with an S.com. There is a different website that doesn't have the S. That's not my website.
Gotcha.
But it's a free download, and we encourage everybody to go there and download the book. And it's written in a question and answer format based on the most frequently asked questions that we get. So it should be fairly, we hope it's fairly user-friendly for the veteran.
So if someone is just thinking, okay, I'm at a point where I need to hire your firm, do you recommend they download the book first and see if their questions are answered there, or what would you recommend there?
Well, you can do both at the same time.
Okay.
We don't require people to read our book before we'll talk to them, but it certainly is useful. It's a useful tool if you want to understand what your rights are and what your benefits could possibly be.
So when somebody does decide to contact your firm and retain your help for getting these benefits, take us a little bit quickly through the process. What can they expect on the initial call? What do they need to be prepared to provide? Do they need to make an office visit?
So first of all, we don't require anyone to make an office visit. They're always welcome to have an office visit if they so choose, but many of our veterans either are spread out over the country, so it's not convenient, or a lot of times they're disabled to the point they really, just don't want to have to make an office visit if
Sure.
they don't have to. So most of our clients, the initial process is all done over the phone. Obviously, we'll ask a lot of questions about their service, their history in the military, their discharge status, their medical status, both back during their military service and today. And we'll take them through the process and explain what their rights and possible remedies are and what might or might not be appropriate in their circumstance.
Sometimes the government tends to move not exactly at a quick pace. What sort of time frame can people expect that this whole process might take?
Well, and that's, again, is a good question, a moving target. I would have told you a few years back that it probably could be the 3 to 4 year process
Wow.
to get through this, depending. It is getting a little better, especially with the new RAMP program. We're starting to see decisions rendered, sometimes within 12 to 18 months. And of course, these are for people who've been denied on their initial application.
Right.
I mean, there certainly are people who are granted on their initial application that are much quicker than that. So the process, it's like a slow moving glacier. It is getting better. It's not perfect and it's still not where it needs to be, but we do see some progress. And that's, again, this whole new RAMP procedure that's coming into effect, which is going to change all of our terminology. We're all very hopeful that that will start shaving off the months as it's implemented fully.
Sounds like you might have to update the book here soon too.
We are already planning that. Yes, as soon as the new rules get really established, version 2 will be coming out. So.
And I wanted to point out, you mentioned a little bit before, you do handle cases outside of Texas. You handle cases all across the country, correct?
Yes, we absolutely handle cases all over the country. There is only one veterans court that ultimately handles cases that if you take them through the administrative process and don't get what you need there and you need to file your case in federal court, the only veterans court sits in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So all cases are filed in Washington, D.C. So most veterans attorneys handle cases on a national basis. So.
Gotcha. Mark, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. It's helpful that I appreciate that you're able to help veterans in times that they really need that sort of help. And I appreciate you taking time for us today.
Thank you so much.
Marc Whitehead, attorney Marc Whitehead of Marc Whitehead & Associates, our guest today on Ask the Lawyers. That's going to do it for this episode. Take a second and subscribe. Click on the button to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any future episodes of Ask the Lawyers. And remember, when you need help, choose a lawyer that lawyers choose at AskTheLawyers.com.